But today, we're here to talk about strengthening competition, which will bring down cost. Back in July, I signed an executive order to promote competition across the economy. In too many industries, a handful of giant companies dominate the market. And too often, they use their power to squeeze out smaller competitors and stifle new entrepreneurs, making our economy less dynamic and giving themselves free rein to raise prices, reduce options for consumers, or exploit workers. The meat industry is a textbook example on the price side. 4 big corporations control more than half of the markets in beef, pork, and poultry. These middlemen that they buy from, farmers and ranchers, and sell the processors, sell the processed product to grocery stores. That's the way it works. Without meaningful competition, farmers and ranchers don't get to choose who they sell to. Or put another way, our farmers and ranchers have to pay whatever these 4 big companies say they have to pay, by and large. But that's only half of it. These companies can use their position as middlemen to overcharge grocery stores and ultimately families. If we can hold a second, I was telling my colleagues earlier in my office that I was sitting in my kitchen yesterday, and there's a sunroom off the kitchen, and my wife was there with her sister and a good friend named Mary Ann, and she was saying, do you realize it's over $5 for a pound of hamburger meat? $5? Well, this is partly, the pound of beef today costs $5 compared to less than $4 before the pandemic. And here's some historical context. 50 years ago, ranchers got over 60 cents for every dollar a family spent on beef. Today, they get about 39 cents. 50 years ago, hog farmers got 40 to 50 cents for each dollar they spent. Today, it's about 19 cents. And the big companies are making massive profits. While their profits go up, the prices you see at the grocery stores go up commensurate. The prices farmers receive for the products they are bringing to market go down. This reflects the market being distorted by lack of competition. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Capitalism without competition isn't capitalism, it's exploitation. That's what we're seeing in meat and poultry, and those industries now. Small, independent farmers and ranchers are being driven out of business, sometimes businesses that have been around for generations. It strikes at their dignity, their respect, and the family legacies so many of them carried for generations after generation. So I'm here as Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack, former governor of the state of Iowa, and Attorney General Garland, to talk about how we can create fair markets and more opportunities for family farmers and ranchers and bring down the price at grocery stores. There are 4 pieces of our action plan. First, we're going to invest $1 billion in new and expanded meat and poultry processing capacity, funding that was included in the American Rescue Plan to revive our economy, to bring in more competition and dignity and more farmers, ranchers, and customers. We're going to invest in new and innovative small businesses and meat processors, the lifeblood of our economy. And when we do this, we'll give farmers and ranchers more options beyond giant processing conglomerates, shore up the weak points in our food supply chain. Secretary Vilsack will share some about this very shortly. Second, we're strengthening rules to protect farmers, ranchers, and other producers. For example, the Department of Agriculture is rewriting the rules under the Packers and Stockyard Act, which was a law back in the 1920s that was needed at that time and still needed to protect farmers and ranchers from abuse by processors. The last administration weakened that law, making it possible for the abuse that we're seeing now. We're going to strengthen the law to make sure it works as intended. Third, the United States government, my administration, will enforce existing competition laws vigorously and fairly. My executive order on competition established a whole-of-government approach to increasing competition. And our new White House Competition Council chaired by the head of my National Economic Council, including members, and Brian is here today, and including members of the cabinet and other key agency officials like the Secretary of Agriculture, the Attorney General, the Secretary of Labor, the head of the Federal Trade Commission. They're all there to make sure that antitrust laws are enforced across the board. Today, the Justice Department and the USDA announced a joint initiative to make it easier for farmers and ranchers to report potentially illegal practices in the agricultural sector. Attorney General Garland will discuss this more. Fourth, we're bringing greater transparency to the industry. A free market isn't truly free without transparency around prices. How do you justify the price? And right now, that's largely disappeared in the cattle market transparency. Back in August, the Department of Agriculture took steps to address this, and we're going to keep pushing. And I'm pleased to see that Congress is taking action as well to increase competition and fairness, with a bipartisan group of senators now working on legislation to make cattle markets more transparent. And all these issues are areas where we can and we must come together in a bipartisan way. And I'm grateful to the members of the Democratic and Republican members of Congress for being willing to come to the table. Senator John Tester and Senator Grassley of Iowa, Tester's from Montana, have been leaders in this effort. And I'll be inviting a bipartisan group to come together to discuss how we can make progress legislatively as well as they're proposing, even as we continue doing everything we can on the executive branch side. Strengthening competition is good for all of us. Farmers and ranchers deserve a fair shake. American families facing high prices at grocery stores deserve a fair price to put food on the table. Rural communities, which see more good jobs when there's more competition. And our economy as a whole, as we make our food supply chains more resilient. I'm looking forward to hearing from the farmers, ranchers, and processors joining us today. We're going to ensure that you have the tools you need on a level playing field you deserve. And we're going to fight for fair prices for American farmers, ranchers, and families, all three. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Secretary Vilsack. Tom.